Hey guys, welcome to Kevis Films and Home Theater. My name is Kevis. Today I want to talk to you about the three receivers that I've used so far this year, 2024. I wanted to tell you a little bit about them, why I switched, what landed me to the Marantz Cinema 50, and what I feel to be probably the best value out there today. If you were to say, hey, I want to upgrade my receiver, this is the one that I would recommend that you get. And I'll get to that a little bit later on. So early this year, I had the Onkyo RZ730. I bought it open box from Amazon maybe 3 years ago. It's worked really great in my theater, really didn't have any issues. Earlier last year, when I replaced my PB2000, my SVS PB2000 Pros with the PSA 1813s, I noticed a hum in my signal. I couldn't get the subwoofers out of hum. It's what they call, I guess, a ground loop hum. And there might be because maybe they're a little more sensitive. I'm not really sure what causes that, at least from the sense of, well, I previously had subs that did not have that, or I couldn't hear. What is it about these that is making that sound? Anyways, I went down a rabbit hole to see how can I fix this. It's on my nerves. I can't deal with it. I really want to change. So in the beginning of the year, I decided, hey, listen, I'm going to make the leap and I want to get something where I can use XLR connectors from the receiver to the subwoofers. And I'm looking in my research of trying to find something that would work as an AVR. Really wasn't interested in getting a processor and amplification separately. I ended up with Emotiva. So I was looking for something that wasn't going to break the bank either. And they were having a promotion earlier this year where you could basically get their receivers for 25% off. So I ended up getting the MR1L, which is a 9-channel amplifier receiver with the capability to process 11 channels by using an external amplifier, which I already had that I used with my Onkyo. I ended up with the Emotiva. I actually bought the Emotiva, got it in, super heavy, very well done, built like a tank. I got it in, I got my XLRs, reran the cables, plugged it in, the hum is gone. The unfortunate part was that there was an issue with the programming with the Emotiva receiver. And no matter what I tried, I could not get it to do a 7.2.4. For whatever reason, my top rear speakers were also emitting sound from my rear surround speakers. So I just couldn't get it. It just didn't work. Something was wrong. They were very helpful. The customer service was very helpful. They sent me some firmware updates for me to try. That didn't fix the issue. So they actually replaced the unit, sent me a brand new one. I packed that one up, about 50 pounds, took it back in, got the new one in. But unfortunately, it was the same issue. So I really couldn't, it wasn't going to work for me. A little disappointed because, again, I just wanted to get rid of the ground loop or the humming in my subwoofers. And I don't know if maybe I missed researching what other different AVRs I could get that had a XLR out for the subwoofers, but I wasn't willing to pay more than $1,500 for a receiver at the time. So I ended up returning that, and I decided, I'm just going to try a new receiver. The Onkyo was getting ready to be sold. I got a good deal for it, and I looked into accessories for less. They actually take, they're authorized dealers. They take units that may need to be refurbished. In this case, I was able to find a Marantz Cinema 50 for about $1,500, just a little bit above that likely. I can't remember exactly what it was. But I decided, listen, why not try it? I've never tried a Marantz, so why not try it? And maybe that, for whatever reason, magically the hum disappears, which likely wasn't going to be the case. So I ended up getting that receiver. The receiver has worked flawlessly since I bought it. I've had it now probably for about 5 months, and it's been flawless. There's no issues with it. Now the hum did not go away. What I ended up doing was I ended up turning the gain volume or the gain knob in the back of the subwoofers, turning it down, and then being able to kind of kick up the gain or really the volume in the AVR, meaning that it kind of disappeared when the gain went down, at least in the receiver. Not sure how that works, but it worked out well. So it's out. What do I think about the Marantz Cinema 50? Again, I think it's a great receiver. It does what I needed. It was a 9-channel amplifier, capability to process 11 channels. I already had an external amplifier, so I was able to power up the rear surround speakers with my external amplifier. First, I'm working with Audyssey. So previously, I'd worked with Onkyo's calibration. I believe it was AccuEQ, possibly. Nothing to it. It sounded okay for me, and really I couldn't remember what it sounded to before. Honestly, that's the second receiver I actually tried doing calibration. Prior to that, I had a Sony, which I returned because I got into the whole power ratings and understanding that when a receiver says, hey, listen, this has 130 watts per channel, or in this case, it's 2-channel driven. So if it has seven other channels amplification, you're not going to get 150 watts, whatever it says. You're not going to get it. You're going to get something a lot less, maybe 50% of the power. So for whatever reason, I just said, listen, I don't want the Sony. I got the Onkyo. I had it for 3 years. Obviously, the issue with the speakers came about. Tried the Emotiva, then went to the Marantz, and that's when I started to work with Audyssey. And Audyssey was off the box, was pretty good. I did have a mini DSP that helped me do my bass management in my room. But here's a good thing. When Audyssey 1 Evo started to come out, I've basically tried almost every generation, every iteration that came out, I've tried. And I got pretty good at actually working the system. So I downloaded the Audyssey app on my phone, and I was actually able to eliminate the mini DSP from my system. So the cool thing about the Marantz Cinema 50 is that it offers independent subwoofer outs, up to 4. I only have 2, but it can measure when Audyssey is measuring or calibrating. It's measuring both subwoofers separately. So when you take it into the system and you put it in the whole Evo or Audyssey 1 script, it'll actually time align them and give you the best measurement, understanding, hey, listen, these are the filters that it needs. Also, this is the distance that you want to put in terms of delay in your receiver. It does everything for you. So I didn't really have a need for my mini DSP anymore. And reflecting back, I wanted to be able to look around and say, hey, listen, if I were to do this again and upgrade my receiver, what receiver would I recommend somebody to get? So in this case, I'm looking around, I noticed that the Denon X3800H was a little bit cheaper than the Marantz Cinema 50. I believe that is the equivalent of the Marantz Cinema 50. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong below, and leave a comment, just let me know. But it is a lot cheaper than a brand new Marantz Cinema 50. Pretty similar. It comes with Audyssey. It also comes with, if you want to pay though, of course, Direct Live. If you want to use it, you can pay the license and download it. And also has bass management, which is another, I mean, by the time you keep adding that up, I don't know, it might be like $500 in terms of just additional. In this case, it came to Audyssey. What a great way to implement Audyssey 1 Evo with the Audyssey app in that receiver. You do want the independent subwoofer outs. Sometimes you look at the back of your AVR and you're like, listen, I've got 2 different RCAs that are coming out, but it's really just it's a split signal. It's the same signal coming out, just sort of a splitter on the way out. So you really want to try to have independent subwoofer outs if you can. Now, in this case, in looking around different receivers, and you can look at Yamaha, you can look at Sony, you can look at Arkham, you can look at Anthem. There's so many different receivers. I just felt that for the price, the Denon is going to be very reliable. It should last you probably for 5 to, I don't know, it's 8 years. Unless it goes bad, you're likely not going to change it unless there's some new invention of codec. Dolby Atmos becomes something else, or DTS:X becomes something else. This has everything you would need. That Denon has the IMAX Enhanced, it has Dolby Atmos, it has DTS:X, and also another cool little thing that it has is that it has pre-outs. Meaning that if you wanted to actually use external amplification, you can basically use the Denon as a processor and have your amplifiers separate and be able to have more power. Now, in this case, I believe that Denon has 105 watts per channel or per 2 channels driven. Now, Denon or Marantz, I believe both of them have a 70% guarantee, or saying that, hey, listen, we guarantee that if you have all channels, if you're driving all your channels, you're going to at least get 70% of the power that we're specing on the unit. So in this case, I don't know, probably 70 watts each. In my case, for my Marantz Cinema 50, I've been asked, hey, Kevis, why don't you have external amplification? Well, my speakers are pretty sensitive. My room, based on my size, based on where I sit, I'm about 12 feet away from my front speakers, maybe about 7 feet away from my side speakers. And as you go back around, I'm probably back another 10 feet from my rear speakers. And they're sensitive enough. If you go to a SBL calculator, understand, hey, listen, how many watts do I need to drive my speaker to a certain SBL level? In this case, I don't listen to probably, I don't think I've ever had more than maybe 87 dB loudness in my room. I just don't care to go any higher than that. Honestly, it's plenty loud enough. That's about negative 11 on the receiver, on the volume control. And I probably don't even need more than 16 watts per speaker to get it to my level. It might not be reference level. If I wanted to go really loud, I probably would have to get amplification that maybe has 250 watts per channel, but that's not what I'm doing in my room. If I remove and I have a much bigger room, then that may make sense. But right now, I don't need it. And the good thing is that because it has pre-outs, I can always do that later on if I wanted to. The other receiver that I would recommend would be the Onkyo RC50. That also has 9 channels of amplification, but it can process up to 11 channels. So you can have a 7.4. But what it doesn't have, it doesn't have independent subwoofer outs. So in that case, you may be spending less for the AVR for the receiver, but if you wanted to, and if you feel really adventurous, you can always add a mini DSP to it. That's probably about a $250 purchase, and then add another $100 for UMIC 1, maybe a little bit more than that. You might be cheaper than the Denon using that, but it will require a lot more time and effort to actually calibrate the room and be able to do your bass management with a mini DSP. At the end of the day, I want you guys to be able to not get so overpowered by the marketing out there from so many different companies. There are some really good calibration softwares out there that come with some of those receivers. And guys, I'm not even getting into any of the high-end receivers in here. You can try the Trinoff, you can try the Storm, you can try Act 4. I believe that's the new one that's coming out. But that's not anywhere I need to be. I feel blessed to have been able to sit in Audiovice's new room and experience the Trinoff there with a Mad VR, with the great projector, unbelievable sound, the subwoofers. And again, I enjoy my theater, and I don't see me ever spending the money for the amount that I would gain. I feel like my room just brings enough to me, and for that next step, I mean, the investment value to me does not make sense. I'm still able to enjoy a film, be able to watch a movie, and everything disappears. I'm not worried about, well, what AVR am I listening to? I'm not worried about what speakers am I listening to in the front. I'm not worried about any of this stuff. Now, the subwoofers always put a smile on my face when you hear a nice action scene, an explosion, a gunshot, or anything like that. But for the most part, everything takes you out. So if you can watch a film in your home theater and enjoy it and really fall for the movie and forget everything else you have around you, then you've done your job. Guys, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you back next time.